Good to see you there. Well, since you're here, why don't you pull up a chair? Oh, a story? I'd love to read you a story. Well, how about this one? Well, before we start, perhaps, if you like, we could do a personalized message or even a video call. Would you like that? We'll make sure Mom and Dad contacts our fairy godmother, Princess Maggie, on our email, WhatsApp, Facebook, or YouTube channels. Well, without further ado, why don't we start? Oh, you know this story? That's right. Well, if you know me, I'm sure you know my story. Well, we could read it again if you'd like. You would? How delightful. Okay, well, let's start then. Here's the story of Beauty and the Beast. Once upon a time, a spoiled, selfish prince lived in a shining castle deep in the forest. Can you guys spot the castle? That's right, there it is. Isn't it stunning? One winter's night, an old beggar woman came to the castle and offered the prince a rose in return for shelter from the cold. The unkind prince thought the beggar's appearance was disgusting, so he turned her away. Suddenly, the old woman transformed into a beautiful enchantress. With her magic, she changed the prince into a beast and placed a spell on the castle and everyone that lived in it. If the prince could learn to love and be loved in return before the last petal fell from the rose, the spell would be broken. If not, he would remain a beast forever. Many years later, a young woman named... Right, that's me, Belle. I dreamed of finding an exciting life. I lived in a small rural village, but longed for adventure like those I read of in my books. Do you guys like reading? I absolutely adore reading. It makes the time pass so much quicker. But unfortunately, my love for reading made most of the villagers think I was strange. But I was also very beautiful. That's why Gaston, the most handsome and vain young man in the village, wanted to marry me. I didn't want to marry Gaston, though, especially because he didn't understand my love for books. It's not right for a woman to read, he said, and soon she starts getting ideas and thinking. Just then, I heard a loud bang from our cottage, where my father, Maurice, was busy working on a new invention. You see, he's an inventor, a very good one, in fact. Gaston's sidekick, LeFou, laughed and called my father crazy. He's not crazy, he's a genius, I said, hurrying home. At home, I found my father surrounded by pieces of his new invention, an automatic wood chopper. Wouldn't that be handy? No more swinging the axe so hard. I'll never get this bone-headed contraption to work in time for the invention fair tomorrow, my father said. Yes, you will, I said, and you'll win first prize. I simply know it. With my encouragement, my father repaired the invention, then loaded it onto our trusty steed. What's our horse's name? Philippe, that's right. He's beautiful, isn't he? And he set out for the fair. I knew the villagers thought my father was crazy, but I believed in him with all my heart. As evening fell, my father became confused as to which direction he should take. At a crossroads, he took a path that soon grew dark and tangled. Before long, he lost his way in the forest. Suddenly, wolves howled nearby. Philippe threw my father off and suddenly bolted away. Then, snarling wolves cornered my father in front of a huge gate. Maurice banged on the gate until it creaked open, and he stumbled inside. Behind the gate was an enormous castle. Maurice let himself in and tiptoed down the hall. "Is anyone there?" he asked. He picked up a candlestick to light his way. "Hello," the candlestick said. The castle was full of enchanted objects that could move and talk like people. Maurice couldn't believe his eyes. The candlestick? Well, was his name. Lumiere. And the clock? Cogsworth. Good job. They led him to a comfortable chair in front of a warm fire. Suddenly, a huge beast entered the room. So you've come to stare? The beast snarled. I meant no harm, Maurice said. I needed a place to stay. I'll give you a place to stay, the beast replied. Then he threw Maurice in the dungeon. Meanwhile, Gaston had decided it was time for a wedding. I was surprised when he announced that this was the day that all of my dreams would come true by marrying him. I'm very sorry, Gaston, but I just don't deserve you, I said as I opened the doorway and splat! Gaston lost his balance and fell into a muddy pond. I'll have Belle for my wife, he said. Make no mistake about that. Just then, Philippe galloped into the yard, alone. What happened? Where's Papa? I asked, the frightened horse. You have to take me to him. It was growing dark when Philippe brought me to the castle gate. We hurried inside, determined to find my father. At last, I found my father shivering and coughing in the dungeon. You must go, now, he said when he saw me. Suddenly, a shadow fell across the floor. The beast stepped into the light. What are you doing here? He roared. I pleaded with him to let my father go, but the beast refused. Take me instead, I offered. The beast paused for a moment. You must promise to stay here forever, he said. I wanted to save my father, so I agreed. My father raced back to the village, shouting for help. He explained that the beast was keeping me hostage and that I needed rescuing. But everyone laughed at crazy old Maurice, everyone except Gaston. Gaston saw this as an opportunity to get me to marry him. In the castle, I met many enchanted servants, including Mrs. Potts, a motherly teapot, and her son, a teacup named Chip. That's right, his name is Chip. That's a very brave thing you did, said Mrs. Potts. She knew I had chosen to stay in the castle to help my father. Feeling upset, I refused to have dinner with the beast. But later that night, the staff treated me to a feast, complete with singing and dancing. They were thrilled to find me have a guest. And what did they sing to me? Be our guest, put our service to the test. Tie your napkin round your neck, chérie, and we'll provide the rest. Soup de joie, hot or cold, why we only live to serve. Try the grey stuff, it's delicious. Don't believe me, ask the dishes. They can sing, they can dance. After all, dear, this is France, and the service here is never second best. Go on and fold your pan, you take a glance, and then you'll be our guest. We are guest, be our guest. After dinner, I wanted to explore the castle. The beast had forbidden me to go in only one place. Where was that place? The West Wing, yes, which made me curious. Cogsworth and Lumiere tried to keep me away, but I slipped away from them and ventured up the stairs. I peeked into a darkened room and gasped. The curtains were ripped and broken furniture and mirrors lay scattered all over the room like someone had torn everything apart. There was one thing that caught my attention, though. A glowing rose under a glass dome. Several petals had fallen off. Entranced by its beauty, I reached out, but before I could touch it, the beast burst into the room. I warned you never to come here, he bellowed. Do you know what you could have done? Get out! So I did. Terrified, I ran from the castle. Promise or no promise, I can't stay here another minute, I said. I climbed onto Philippe, who was waiting outside the gate, and we raced into the forest. But soon, ferocious wolves surrounded us. Suddenly, the beast sprang from the shadows, growling and snarling. He fought off the wolves with their snapping jaws. At last, the pack fled, howling into the forest. The beast had saved my life. But the beast was hurt. I returned to the castle and tended his wounds. "If you hadn't run away, this wouldn't have happened," the beast said. "If you hadn't frightened me, I wouldn't have run away," I replied. Then I added, "Thank you for saving my life." "You're welcome," he said. This was the start of our very beautiful friendship. As the day passed, I began to see goodness inside the beast. He learned to be gentle and kind. Even little birds noticed the difference in him, perching fearlessly on his shoulders. The castle staff watched me and the beast hopefully. Mrs. Potts told Chip that something there was happening. Perhaps, just perhaps, the spell would be broken. What do you guys think was happening? That's right, we were falling in love. One evening, the beast arranged an elegant dinner. He looked handsome in his suit, and he tried hard to act like a gentleman. Madame de Garde-Robe made a beautiful dress for me. But we both felt so nervous. We were starting to care for each other, and neither quite knew what to say or do. As soft music played, we danced around the candlelit ballroom. The beast gazed at me. He loved me. How could he tell me? How could he find the courage to tell me? He asked me if I was happy, and I said that I was, except that I missed my father. So he showed me a magic mirror that revealed an image of my father. He looked ill. Only one petal remained on the enchanted rose, but the beast released me from my promise, letting my father return to me. The beast gave me the mirror to remember him by. As I rode away, he howled. All hope for breaking the curse was gone. I rushed home to my father. To my surprise, Chip had sneaked into my bag and come along too. "How did you escape that horrible beast?" my father asked. "He's different now, Papa," I said. Before I could explain, there was a knock on the door. Guards had arrived to take my father away. Gaston had arranged for him to be declared insane. Gaston cornered me. "I might be able to clear up this little misunderstanding," he said, "if you marry me." "Never," I said. To prove that my father wasn't crazy, I showed the villagers the beast image in the enchanted mirror. "He's my friend," I said. Jealous and angry, Gaston shouted. He snatched the mirror and yelled, "Kill the beast!" I tried to stop him, but he locked me and my father in the cottage. Then, with torches flaring, Gaston led the townspeople through the forest and to the castle. As the crowd approached, Mrs. Potts ran to the beast. "What shall we do?" she asked. But with Belle gone, the beast no longer cared about anything. "Just let them come," he said. Boom! The outside door shook as the villagers tried to force their way into the castle. The doors flew open with a crash, and the townspeople stormed inside. But the servants were ready. The hat rack punched, the wardrobe slammed her doors, and the chairs knocked. After a fierce battle, the servants finally chased the townspeople away from the castle. Only Gaston remained. Finding the beast alone, he raised his bow, but the beast would not fight. When Gaston's arrow hit, the beast staggered backwards, crashing through the windows and onto the castle's roof. "What's the matter?" Gaston taunted. "Too kind and gentle to fight back?" Before Gaston could deliver the final blow, I screamed out, "No!" My father and I escaped from the cottage and raced to the castle. The beast heard my voice and raised his head. "Belle," he whispered. Hope filled the beast's heart and gave him the will to defend himself. He turned and held Gaston near the roof's edge. Then the beast stopped. He no longer wanted to hurt anyone, not even Gaston. Instead, he let the bully go and began to climb towards Belle. But Gaston saw this as his chance and stabbed the beast right in the back. "Ah!" the beast roared with pain and whipped around. Gaston was accidentally knocked off the roof and plunged towards the rocks below. I pulled the beast to safety and kneeled beside him. You came back, he whispered. At least I got to see you one last time. Please don't leave me, I said. I love you. As I spoke, the last rose petal fell. Then suddenly, magical sparkles began to swirl around the beast. He rose into the air, turning slowly in a shower of light. I watched in disbelief as the beast began to change. What was he changing into, guys? What is it? That's right, a handsome prince. Belle, he cried, it's me. I gazed into the prince's eyes. It really is you, I said in wonder. Magic swirled above the castle. Happy cries rang out as servants transformed back into humans. The spell was finally broken. It's a miracle, cried Lumiere. No one was more joyful than Belle and her prince. The servants watched us waltz across the ballroom. Are they going to live happily ever after now? Chip asked. Of course, my darling, Mrs. Potts replied. And that's exactly what we did. I hope you guys enjoyed that story, and don't forget to join in for Ariel and Rapunzel's stories as well in this week. I hope you have a great day. Stay magical.